Gary, we're here on Borough TV reviewing the round 2 game against Richmond at Punt Road on Saturday. We showed signs during the game, but eventually went down to the tune of 43 points after being overrun in the last quarter. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, probably pretty right, really. We hung in there. We weren't playing very good footy, though. It was a bit of a scrappy game and lots of turnovers, or blowtorch stats, as I call it. But we did show some ability to hang in the contest. I thought we probably got a little bit of momentum back late in the second quarter and then potentially the third. And I think we got it back to 10 points, and then we let them kick a goal just basically prior to three-quarter time. Sitting there analysing the game at three-quarter time, I thought, well, we're just sort of hanging on here and we'll make a couple of moves. Waddell went forward and that released Chol, who I thought was pretty dynamic for him in the last quarter. But again, we just made too many errors, and the turnovers against an AFL-aligned team will certainly hurt you on the scoreboard. I think they scored 69 points from our turnovers and a total score of 92, so it says a fair bit about us butchering the ball, both hands and feet. Our decision-making, as in selecting options, I thought were also quite bizarre at times, really, and some of our mental application to the tasks I also thought was a bit bizarre at times. So yeah, I'd really like some of the players just to walk me through some of their decisions and whether that's pressured or unpressured. But if I had to sit here and say what do I think are probably two key areas, one is that I don't think we're getting enough out of our group consistently, and I think a lot of our better players are certainly not at the peak of their powers. So if we can rectify those two things, and also too just keep concentrating on the fundamentals of our game, I think that will make us a lot better. So, but as you said, we hung in there, but it was a bit of a disappointing way that last quarter panned out.
On a positive front, another good game from Patrick Vespremi off halfback.
Yeah.
Paul Amy tweeted that his recruitment to the club raised a few eyebrows in the off-season, but fair to say he's been very impressive thus far. Are you able to elaborate a little further on his story and what's led him to be in the position he's in now?
Yeah, certainly. Maybe the eyebrows are being raised because he's 29, and of course he's been out of the competition for around 5 and 6 years. So that in essence a lot of things have changed, I guess. Now for us, we needed someone who had a little bit of experience, but also too who had played as that dynamic sort of player. And him coming off half back, especially the last 2.5 quarters against Willie 2 weeks ago and then again on the weekend, I thought was pretty important to how we wanted to use the ball from a ball movement point of view. And I thought certainly from 2 weeks ago he had improved again, so I was actually quite happy with what he ended up doing from a contribution point of view. But it was somewhat left to too few, and if I looked through my list and said who do I think won their position on Saturday against the Tigers, there would probably only be a handful, I reckon.
And we spoke a little earlier today about being back at our home of Adcon Stadium this Saturday. We know it's been a long, hard slog during the pre-season period, but there must be a palpable sense of excitement now to get back here this week.
Yeah, there will be, Sam. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, for what we need to do as a group, and that's a playing group, you just like to have consistency with what you do, and we haven't been able to do that for the reasons that we know we're going to eventually be back here. But certainly if we can get back on during the week and have some good trainings, that will certainly be better. And then fronting up against last year's premiers. So when you think about Willie at Willie, then of course Richmond at Punt Road and now Box Hill, there's certainly going to be 3 games that'll test us as a group. But as long as we keep showing the improvement that I expect, and the best way to start that is by getting back onto the fundamentals of what we do. I know it sounds fairly basic, but that's basically what it is. So if we can improve in those areas, stop the blowtorch stats, we'll obviously have to make some changes. A few of the boys got wounded a bit on the weekend, so that's footy, unfortunately, and hope all those guys can certainly get back pretty quickly. But that opens the door for other players that have been playing okay at home club land.
And just quickly on the opposition, they're flying, aren't they, Box Hill? These games don't get any easier as we search for that elusive first win.
Yeah, no, you're right, Sammy. They've jumped out of the blocks, no doubt about that. You know, last week's, or the week before, sorry, grand final Rematch was very much Box Hill's way over Casey, and then of course Casey came out and had a pretty big win on the weekend, and Box Hill certainly after quarter time, from what I could see, were pretty dominant, and they've always been a really good side. They certainly have a great development program there, obviously out of the Hawthorn system, so yeah, we'll certainly have our work cut out for us, there's no doubt about that. But what we've obviously got to look at, as I said, is not lose sight on what we're trying to do. It's only 2 games, and it's a marathon, not a sprint, as someone once quoted. I think it might have been Malcolm Blight, so we'll look to adopt that adage and certainly look to be better at the areas that we were poor in last week.
Well, Gary, bad luck on the weekend, but we're all pumped to make our return home this Saturday. We hope to see a big crowd in attendance with some good weather forecast as well, and wish you and the boys the very best of luck.
Yeah, good on you, Sammy.